If you're a female fitness coach, here is exactly how you could set up your inquiry funnel to book more calls. To start with, at the top, we can have your hero banner. The hero banner is essentially calling out a specific type of person and adding some credibility behind it. For example, in this case, it says, let's crush your goals together. We could go one step further and potentially improve this a little bit more by adding some credibility behind it. For example, join 1,000+ women achieving X, Y, and Z. Instead of just saying, let's crush your goals, we could call out a clear outcome. There is then a sticky banner with her branding on. Instead, what we could do is we could then add a call to action on this, or add some logos of familiar brands that she might have worked with, had partnerships with, or clients that she's worked with, to essentially create some familiarity when leads land on the page, and also to add more social proof high up above the fold on the landing page. Then we move into the VSL, which is done incredibly well. It has a huge amount of human connection, a high amount of trust, and she calls out a specific type of person. As she calls out this specific type of person in this video, it would make sense to also call that person out higher up in the headline. There is then an emotional hook speaking to a specific type of person. One potential suggestion with this one is adding a time frame that it would take to achieve this outcome. Next up, we have a social proof banner that reinforces the program will help you achieve this outcome. One suggestion with this one is potentially then having some captions below each image saying what the outcome was, losing 20 pounds, for example. A big thing with social proof is we want this to be quite high up the funnel and potentially above the fold. Above the fold is essentially what we see on that landing page before we have to scroll down, one of which is social proof that pulls someone in and reinforces that you know what you're essentially selling to them. We then move into an about section that essentially gives us an overview about Stacey, and one thing here that potentially could be a suggestion is adding in a trust booster. For example, she has these qualifications, she has been coaching for this long, she has worked with this many people. It just reinforces even more that she is the person that these leads need to work with. One thing that is done incredibly well is having numerous call to actions throughout. As leads are scrolling, there's obviously going to be periods where they can't see a call to action option. So having these dotted throughout works incredibly well, because then we're not letting leads question what the next step is. These call to actions are based around get started with one-on-one personalized training. However, a suggestion here is potentially creating more urgency. For example, X amount of spaces left, your free consultation, so people aren't hesitant around the next step and they know that they can speak to someone before signing up. We then have even more social proof in this case, which is longer form text-based social proof, which again reinforces that the program will help you get a certain outcome, but it's great to see longer form reviews of people talking about things in an even deeper level. This social proof is relatable and it creates a warm community tone so people feel like they're going to be a part of something rather than just joining a generic program. This then also helps with retention rates because people are buying into a community rather than just an outcome. I would say that the wins with this funnel are essentially speaking to a specific type of person, really great visuals and testimonials and credibility, and good spacing with her CTA so that they're constant throughout. Now, the potential suggestions and improvements could be the following. Towards the end of the funnel, adding the ability to opt into some form of free resource. So instead of the lead leaving, they have the ability to opt into something. Alternatively, we could have this as an exit pop-up. So when the lead tries to leave the page, there's a pop-up that we then capture some data. Now, we want this funnel to be specific to one clear outcome. So we don't want loads of different lead magnets around, but if we strategically place them, it could mean that we'd pick up a couple extra leads that would have dropped off. Secondly, if there's a huge amount of lead flow and this is an incredibly high priced product, having some expectations on pricing can work well. I wouldn't add this in from the off, but I would then use this if I'm getting a lot of objections on calls around price and I'm getting a huge amount of lead flow and I want to create a little bit more friction to make the lead flow higher intent. Lastly, the option to add in FAQ. So we have an FAQ section throughout where people might have commonly asked questions. We can answer these so that the leads feel more at ease when they're getting onto calls. And with those steps, we can take an already very well built funnel and improve it even more so that the conversion rates are even higher.